Let's say you're browsing for some shows and you see a thumbnail that captures your eye. You click on the thumbnail, and as you're watching, for some reason you feel bored. In the first few minutes of any story, it is crucial to grab a hold of your audience's attention so that they feel engaged and want to continue the story. Otherwise, people won't bother to stick with the story, they'll just go somewhere else. The best stories have a strong beginning, middle, and end to tie together all of the main parts of the story and the little bits that support it. In Full Metal Alchemist, we see the story of two boys who want to get their bodies back. The Last Airbender has Aang trying to escape from his destiny as the Avatar, but throughout the story, we see his development to brace his duty and bring balance to the world. In Death Note, we have Ryuk and Light who express boredom from their lives and see Light get consequences from his actions, while Ryuk gets his enjoyment from spectating Light. Bleach has an upcoming live-action movie, and it made me remember old thoughts I had when the manga ended in 2016. So I felt compelled to do this video after I reflected on what made me like this series in the first place and what I feel went wrong with it. Obviously spoilers are ahead, so let's get right to it. Bleach starts with Kurosaki Ishigo as an ordinary high school boy, except that he can see ghosts. He meets a Shinigami who tells him all about souls and the roles that hollows play. Later, when we see the hollow attack, we see the Shinigami throw herself to save Ishigo and introduce herself as Rukia, and then she gives him her powers, thereby learning about the origin story of Ishigo's powers. The next chapter has her show up as a human in disguise at Ishigo's school, and seeing his reaction made me chuckle a bit, since Rukia's bluntness is something Ishigo's rather stoic nature is going to have to deal with. As we learned more about other characters through hollow fights, the story continued to follow this kind of buddy cop relationship with Ishigo and Rukia. A lot of the scenes are exposition heavy, and you can't really do a story without exposition, but sometimes what makes a good exposition, like Bleach, is that it offers insight into the personalities of the characters. By this point, I realized I was actually enjoying Bleach because of these two, and continued reading for more of their involvement. It isn't until the fight with Grand Fisher that we really delve into the depths of Ishigo's past with his mom, and how her death is his motivation to protect people. It's a fight where we also really start to see the relationship with Ishigo and Rukia go into a more deeper level as she understands that it's a personal issue for him, so she tells him to talk to her about it when he's ready. After the fight, we see a touching moment between the two in the rain, and it's something I think some people miss with the symbolism presented with the rain in Bleach. Symbolism is used to supplement the narrative in stories and help give meaning and emotion in scenes. How people interpret the symbolism is different, but the technical execution surrounding the symbolism actually matters, which is part of what I have an issue with, as I'll describe later. I noticed that whenever it rains in Bleach, it involves something with either Ishigo, Rukia, his powers, or all three, because the next time it rains in this story is for Rukia's arrest as she tries to protect Ishigo. We don't need to have a flashback to understand the last time that something like this happened with Ishigo was when his mom died protecting him, and as he's losing his powers, he's also losing the person who gave him those powers. Later during Rukia's captivity, we learn about her past and how she lost Kaien in the rain, and that it's something the reader can connect and notice that both Ishigo and Rukia are in a position to empathize with each other. After her iconic rescue, Rukia's role in this story is a bit downplayed, but throughout the rest of Bleach, we continue to see the story with Ishigo, his development with his powers, and how it ties to Rukia. Throughout the Hueco Mundo arc, we see Ishigo struggle with his hollow powers and Rukia's increasing concern for his powers, and the held-back attitude he displays regarding them. When Ishigo learns that his dad is a Shinigami, he falls back on Rukia's words and repeats them to him, telling his dad to talk to him when he's ready. The Fullbring arc has Rukia returning Ishigo's powers as a Shinigami. Later in the Blood War, when Ishigo has his Bankai broken and is taunted about his mom, Rukia notices his distress and wonders if there's something he's more upset about. When Ishigo meets his dad again, he says he's ready to talk to him, and we finally learn about his mom's past with his dad and the source of his hollow powers. The way I see it, the full circle is Ishigo talking about all of this with Rukia, thereby completing their development together. But we don't even see Ishigo's Bankai being used. And my bigger disappointment is that we didn't even get a fitting fight with Ishigo and Rukia against Yuhava, I don't know how to say it, but the person who basically killed his mom and stole his powers. For someone who played a significant part of Ichigo's character development alongside with his powers, it only makes sense that the person who is in the best position to understand where Ichigo's pain is coming from would be there to fight alongside him. But I also think another issue is that the story presents the origin story of Ichigo's parents to be just like the origin story of Ichigo's powers. While Kubo could have made the story of Ichigo's parents to be about anything, it's instead about a guy from one world meeting a girl from another world under Aizen's influence. The girl breaks her societal rules to save the guys he just met, and gets bitten by a hollow. Later, the girl is about to die from her actions, and the guy who is close to the girl blames the main guy for her incoming demise. But Uruhara offers a solution, and the main guy accepts and saves the girl. Having a parallel like this sets up expectations, just like setting up Yuhava as a powerful being. These kinds of expectations are reinforced throughout the story with the presentation, and having those expectations subverted just for the purpose of faking out the audience isn't clever writing, it's just an indication of poor writing. That being said, having the climax of Ichigo's development with understanding his powers be derived from his parents' love story, and making that story just like the origin story of his powers with Rukia, just tells me that there should have been some romantic climax with Ichigo and Rukia. You could have had the parents' story to be about anything else, but drawing just about every single major parallel possible tells me otherwise. It also solves the issue of age between human and Shinigami, while presenting that such a relationship between two people of different worlds can be romantic. But none of this is really shown, or really reached its potential. I can understand where Kubo would be coming from as he rushed the story from his poor health, but what I think is rather insulting is with the last chapter. Knowing that the ending was rushed, so that only important things could have been shown, the ending could have been about the Soul King, the fate of the Quincy's, or anything else. But instead, Kubo decides to show Ichigo and Rukia much later in their lives, as they spend their last panel arguing, and then showing a mini Rukia meeting a mini Ichigo, and then slapping the two of them on the final volume cover to capstone 15 years of reading experience. It's pretty much saying, this is what it's all about. Which frustrates me as a reader, since these two characters are the reason I got into Bleach, and having about 15 years of development be rather wasted in the end, especially since the majority of the final arc had very little involvement with either Ichigo and Rukia, instead showing Bankai power-ups, some of which are cool, but overall, the last arc feels very loosely connected to me, and the fights have no real cohesive unity as a story. I understand it's a war arc, and that there should be some focus on other characters and fights, but putting them on the final volume cover of the series tells me that all of those main points in the story should somehow involve the main characters. It's like saying that Naruto is about him becoming the Hokage and being accepted by people, but even among the different fights in the Great Ninja War, it still showed involvement with Naruto and Sasuke. Naruto has its flaws, but the best part of Naruto still had focus, like how he was involved and changed people, and how he develops from his fights that test his character, like the Pain arc showed. I have a lot of other issues with the final arc, but in regards to the ending and couples, I don't see how they work either in hindsight or in an actual storytelling structure. With Renji, both him and Ichigo want to get Bankai to beat Byakuya, and save Rukia because she's someone who is dear to them. And from a storytelling standpoint, we have 50 chapters prior to Renji's introduction that are invested with Ichigo and Rukia's relationship, and throughout the Soul Society arc, there are much more mutual moments presented between the two. Having Renji to be the endgame in hindsight would require me to ignore the investment I spent with Ichigo and Rukia in the beginning of the series, claim that Renji's feelings for Rukia are more than the main character, despite him not showing much of a difference, and that Rukia has romantic feelings for Renji, despite her showing more development and emotional moments spent with Ichigo in the Soul Society arc. Then I would have to hold on to that thought for roughly 500 chapters, since neither Renji nor Rukia showed development for each other after the Soul Society arc, and then look at the final chapter and claim that it comes full circle, despite the inconsistent gaps of the story that delve into more emotional moments with Ichigo and Rukia. I can see how Renji thought of Rukia romantically, But if I'm gonna say he liked her based on his words and actions, there's no way I can't say the same with Ichigo and Rukia. With Orihime, she falls in love with Ichigo after hearing about his past secondhand from Tatsuki, and her jealousy of his closeness with Rukia only fed into that feeling. Sure, Ichigo goes to Hueco Mundo to save her like he did with Rukia, but we don't have any mutual character development or interactions between the two like we did in the first 50 chapters of Bleach with Ichigo and Rukia. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to magically assume he has a closer or even equal bond to Orihime, or even has a secret crush on her, without having the material to even show this story in the first place. Even with her fight with Ichigo against Yuha Va, which was the climax for her character, I felt like nothing really compared to the consistent development Ichigo had with Rukia. For example, take this part of the Fullbring arc, where Kaigo asks Ichigo if he misses Rukia, to which Ichigo just shrugs it off. Later, Chad calls Ichigo out on how miserable he was since the day he lost his powers, and challenges Ichigo to think of the proudest moment he felt when he had his powers. Ichigo tries to recollect on all of his biggest battles and saving his friends, with his Hueco Mundo fights and saving Orihime, but above all that, we see this full-page panel of Rukia leaving through the Soul Society gates as she's fading away. To me, it shows a graceful and serious image of her, rather than her giving a thumbs up or having a big panel of all of his friends and family in one big photo shoot. Add to that, it isn't until then that he activates his Fullbring when he gets this feeling. It just feels like an underwhelming payoff to all of that investment. It doesn't make much sense to me to have all of their inner monologues and emotional moments about each other to be shafted to people who they didn't share such feelings with. Nor are either of the couples all that interesting to me. They don't have very entertaining chemistry or banter and feel rather shallow to me. The way Ichigo and Rukia support each other and motivate one another is how a healthy relationship should be portrayed in works, with two sides working together and influencing each other. The romances that ended up happening feel rather forced and one-sided in comparison. Even if Kubo intended all of those moments to be strictly platonic, it's especially jarring when one considers that Ichigo and Rukia have more going on than other romances, especially in action stories, where that department is usually dry by comparison. If Kubo really wanted their relationship to stay strictly platonic, why couldn't he draw their intimate moments together as, well, less intimate? I'm trying to think, for example, where a guy expresses some sort of misery when spending time away from a girl and doesn't result in a romantic climax. It doesn't make sense to me that the next time I see stuff like that in a story, that I have to take it as platonic. The parallel with Ichigo's parents also should have been about something entirely different. Maybe Kubo wanted to have some romantic climax between the two, but then have them separate for some reason, or to say that they're some kind of soulmates, and their relationship is higher than romance, while using the couples to exemplify the idea. Which he should have done a better job at conveying, but I think it's too much to juggle with, and the result has a high chance of being sloppy. Whatever happens in the future of Bleach, whether it's a live-action film or maybe the return of the anime, I just hope it will bring some justice to their relationship that got me hooked on the series since the first chapter.